Exposed. The spine-chilling secrets of a sinister Ohio Lake Patrol officer and their haunted rules. Jenna Collins had no idea what she was in for when she pulled up to the charming lakeside cabin in Oakwood, Ohio. The picturesque scene of glistening water and towering pines looked like a postcard, but the air was thick with an unsettling tension, a feeling that coiled around her heart like a vice. Whispered rumors darted through the local shops, hushed but laced with dread. Something sinister lurked just beneath the surface. From the moment she stepped into the sunlight, she felt the oppressive weight of the town's secrets, wrapped in the sweltering summer heat. With her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, happily exploring the small beach, Jenna struggled to ignore the haunting stories casting a shadow over their stay. There was talk of Officer Hargrave, the dark guardian of the lake, who seemed to know far too much about everyone. He sees everything, they said. You'd best follow his rules. That unsettling notion settled in Jenna's gut. The locals, with their sun-drenched smiles and weary eyes, exchanged glances whenever she passed, filling the air with uncertainty as dusk painted the sky in ominous hues. Jenna watched the shadows stretch and twist at the water's edge. Muffled sounds echoed between the pines, a collective whisper of ancient fear. "Mommy, what's that?" Lily asked, her small voice trembling like the leaves overhead. It was the strange flickering of lights emanating from the cabin, an eerie stutter that sent chills racing down Jenna's spine. She forced a smile for her daughter's sake, but felt a cold sweat forming on her palms. Determined to shake off the creeping dread, Jenna settled down for the night. Yet sleep eluded her. After hours spent tossing, she awoke to disembodied voices echoing through the pines. The words were unintelligible, but the fear behind them gnawed at her. She peeked through the window, and in the moonlight, the lake appeared unnatural, almost sentient, pulsating as if alive. The stillness was broken when a loud rustle jolted her awake. It was a neighbor's pet, darting away, never to be seen again. Heart racing, she clamped her hands over Lily's ears to shield her from the unseen terror looming outside. Days morphed into a suffocating haze of tension. Conversations with the locals turned cold as they avoided eye contact. Jenna pressed on, hunting for answers. Whispers of Officer Hargrave intensified. "He's always watching," she'd overheard. "And the lake, it takes." Panic pressed against her chest. She began to notice how he seemed to loom in the background of her life, reflecting an awareness of every detail, every struggle she'd fought. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined to escape with Lily, she packed in feverish haste as shadows clawed at her resolve. The very woods seemed to lean in, watching her, whispering. It was then, as she held her breath, contemplating their escape, that a sharp knock resounded on the door. Her heart stopped. The voice that followed was low and unnerving, calling her name. "Jenna, I've come to talk about your daughter." In that moment, the tension exploded in a blinding flash of terror. Jenna felt the walls closing in, the cabin no longer a refuge but a trap. Breathing hard, she clutched Lily's hand tightly as dread coiled like a snake around her. Officer Hargrave's grip was more than a watchful eye. It was an iron claw, and she was too close to the dark truth lurking beneath the surface to turn back now. What horrors lay hidden in the depths of that lake? Would she ever leave the woods alive? Jenna's breathing quickened as the oppressive silence filled the cabin. The knock came again, louder this time, sending tremors through her chest. Jenna, the voice lingered, wrapping itself around her like a vine, tightening with each second. Lily pressed closer, her tiny body quaking against her mother's side, seeking safety. Jenna's mind raced, caught between instinct and curiosity. She tore her gaze from the door, eyes darting to the dark windows. They were mere slits now, a barrier between her and the dread waiting outside. What does he want with Lily? She thought, a cold tendril of panic creeping up her spine. It had to be a mistake, surely. The stories were all just town folklore, right? Yet every whispered warning echoed relentlessly in her mind, chilling her blood. Mom, I'm scared. Lily's voice cracked, a plea laced with innocent fear. Just then, the voice came again, a low murmur drifting through the door. Jenna, let me in. It's important. Stay behind me, she whispered fiercely. Her heart thundered in her chest, clenching Lilia's hand. Straining her ears, she tried to discern the tone. Was it friendly? Or was there something darker behind that gravelly invitation? The knock came once more, insistent this time, but it blended into an unnatural cacophony that filled the air. Rustling leaves, distant whispers, the soft lapping of waves against the shore, they all merged into a horrifying symphony. Each sound seemed charged with malice. Jenna felt the walls of the cabin close in, the very shadows leaching into her thoughts, threatening to swallow her whole. Mommy, please. Lily's whimper cut through the noise like glass breaking. It brought Jenna back to the reality that stood before her. She had to protect her child. She had to understand what Officer Hargrave wanted. Stay here, she whispered to Lily, squeezing her hand one last time before stepping toward the door. Each step felt like trudging through thick mud, the air laden with dread. As she reached for the doorknob, a chilling wave swept over her, slowing time as she braced herself for the unknown. With a trembling hand, she opened the door just to crack a sliver of night and fear. There he stood, Officer Hargrave, his dark uniform blending into the shadows behind him. His eyes glimmered under the starlight, deceptively calm yet filled with an unsettling intensity. We need to talk, he said softly. What about? Jenna managed, tension coiling tight in her throat. Your daughter, and the lake. This time you learned the truth. Before she could respond, a low growl resonated from behind Hargrave. It was almost animalistic, echoing through the trees, wrapping them both in its eerie grip. Jenna instinctively closed the door further. Mommy, Lily cried out, the unadulterated fear in her voice piercing through the chaotic tension. Shoo! Jenna snapped, eyes wide, heart racing. She glanced back at her daughter, the innocent face framed in the dim light, and knew what was coming was worse than anything she had imagined. She either had to let this man in or run into the darkness with Lily. Please, Jenna, Hargrave continued, his composure steady despite the unsettling sounds that loomed behind him, rustling leaves growing louder, now intertwined with whispers from the lake. The lake takes what it wants. You don't have to lose her. Lose her? Jenna's breath caught, waves of horror crashing over her. What truth had she stumbled into? The tales weren't folklore, they were warnings. Just as she began to formulate a plan, a blinding flash of light illuminated the night, revealing the twisted silhouettes of figures moving beyond the trailing shadows, contorted into horrible shapes, creeping toward the cabin. Jenna, you need to decide now. Hargrave's voice tugged at her. Would she trust him? The very air crackled with foreboding. What was luring those shadows, and what awaited them if they stayed? As the figures advanced, all Jenna could think was one chilling question. How far would she go to save her daughter? Jenna's heart thundered in her chest as she faced the officer, the shadows behind him twisting ominously, their shapes becoming more defined, more threatening. For a fraction of a second, she thought to slam the door and escape into the night. But what lay hidden in that darkness? Don't you see? Hargrave pressed, urgency lacing his voice. You can't let them take her. You must listen. What do you mean? Jenna managed, struggling to maintain her composure. The air grew heavier, suffocating her with its dread. The lake, he breathed, his eyes darting behind him, is not just water. It's a guardian and a predator. Keeps a balance. When something is taken from it, something must be returned. Return what? She echoed, panic clawing at her throat. She peered past his shoulder. The shadows were closer now, and the whispers rose to an unsettling crescendo, cold fingers of fear gripping her spine. What you lost? Hargrave shouted. This place is cursed, Jenna. Every child remembers, and those who forget they pay the price. I can help you. Help? She scoffed, though her gut twisted at the truth in his words. Something ancient and primal stirred in the depths of the lake. The trees around them seemed to lean in, listening, waiting. Only now did she notice the pale figures creeping forth, skin glistening in the moonlight, eyes sinking deep within their hollows. They glided silently, remnants of innocence twisted into something grotesque. Jenna gasped. Memories of children from town stories of tragic drownings. Faces turned into gaping voids of despair. Listen to him. Lily's tiny voice broke through Jenna's shock. She had emerged from her hiding place, grasping the doorknob, innocent and bewildered. Mommy, I feel them. They're sad. No, Lily. Stay back. Jenna cried, pulling her daughter close, the weight of the situation crashing down upon her. See? Hargrave said, desperation creeping into his voice. They're here. The lake wants you to choose. You either protect her life or lose her to the depths. A prehistoric howl echoed through the woods, sending shivers racing down Jenna's spine. The figures stirred, drawn by the sound, eager and hungry. Choose, Hargrave urged. You can disrupt the cycle, save her. But you must act. You have to bring something back to the lake before it's too late. Jenna looked from Hargrave to the advancing shadows, her mind racing. What do I bring? What do you mean? His face tightened, the gravity of the moment sinking in. The lake has its rules. A sacrifice. To take what meant the most to you in return for her safety. Sacrifice? What could I give? Her heart dropped as she glanced at Lil, her entire world. The shadows danced with anticipation, their whispers filling the air with a chorus of chilling voices. They were so close now. Jenna could see the sorrow etched on their faces, lost children, claiming what they were owed. The moment stretched, both agonizing and electric, and with it came a vile understanding. Jenna pictured the family heirloom she had buried, the legacy of love, a trinket passed down through generations. Was it worth her daughter's life? Mommy, please don't let them take me, Lily whispered, squeezing her hand. Tears blurred Jenna's vision, rage boiling inside her. No, she screamed, bringing herself back into focus. You won't take her. Suddenly, the forest erupted in sound, the growl now a symphony of chaos and anguish, the shadows in a frenzy, ready to collect. Jenna, time is running out, Hargrave shouted, voice rising above the chaos. She had to decide in that moment. Her world split into two paths, one marked by sacrifice, and the other steeped in desperation. Could she break the cycle? Or would she lose everything, including her own soul? As the shadows lunged forward, a dreadful question hung in the air. Would she have the courage to confront the darkness that thrived in the heart of the lake? Jenna's breath came in ragged gasps, each inhalation thick with the stench of dread. The darkness pulsed around her, alive, the shadows twisting and forming into nightmarish shapes. Hargrave's words echoed relentlessly in her mind. A sacrifice. What was worth her child's life? Mommy, I can hear them. Lily's voice was barely a whisper, trembling against Jenna's ear. The chill creeping through the air tightened its grip, and Jenna's heart raced like a trapped animal in her chest. She couldn't let them reach Lily. Not like this. Get back. Jenna cried, positioning herself in front of her daughter. The shadows clung to the ground, stretching toward them, dark tendrils whispering promises of terrifying familiarity. She could see their eyes reflecting in the moonlight, hollow yet filled with a longing that sent a jolt of fear through her. Lily pulled at Jenna's sleeve, frightened. Mommy, they're sad. They want something. With each word, the figures grew bolder, floating closer, their fingers inching into the light, desperate to break through the thin veil between them. Enough! Jenna spat, the desperation boiling over. She turned to Hargrave. What do I do? There are no easy answers. Hargrave yelled, his own fear crackling in the air like static electricity. You either run and risk everything or you confront what has been taken. His eyes searched Jenna's, pleading, frantically glancing back toward the shadows gathering in anticipation. Do you truly believe it will save her? She demanded, knowing full well the answer she dreaded to hear. No one can know for sure, Hargrave shouted as the ground trembled beneath them. The shadows twisted in a frenzy, fueled by anguish, hunger becoming palpable. Their faces transformed from sorrowful to monstrous, mouths opening wide as if preparing to swallow the light whole. Against her will, Jenna's thoughts turned to the heirloom, the necklace that glimmered with the weight of history, a reminder of her ancestors. Could she really sacrifice it? Each second burned into her, her mind a battlefield, grappling with memories and the potential cost. Jenna, the words pressed on her. 3 years ago they took me too. Hargrave's voice broke her spiral of thought. I was ignorant. I forgot. I thought I could escape. But the cost was my sister. No, Jenna pleaded, forcing back the rising tide of despair. I won't let that happen to Lily. The howl erupted again, this time more ferocious, echoing through the woods. The figures lunged, spectral hands reaching for her daughter. Jenna felt the cold breeze whip around them, a sinister whisper promising her savagery and sorrow. Mommy, please. Lily's grip tightened, her small fingers clutching Jenna's like a lifeline. Fear twisted sharply in her gut. In that moment, Jenna made her choice. Adrenaline surged through her veins. We run now. She grabbed Lily's hand, bolting towards the dark woods, her heart thudding against her ribs as they fled. But the shadows were faster. They swarmed around, barely held at bay by the desperate light spilling from the doorway of the cabin. As they broke into the trees, Jenna stumbled, the ground uneven beneath her feet. Keep going, she urged, pulling Lily along. Panic clawed at her as she glanced back, and for an agonizing heartbeat, she met the vacant gaze of a spectral figure. It was an echo of a child, her eyes glistening with lost hope. Jenna didn't look away. She couldn't. The shadows twisted again, ready to claim. Then the world shifted around her. The lake loomed below, its water icy black under the moonlight, churning with threats unsaid. The wind howled, mourning the children lost to its depths. Mommy! The lake! Lily screamed, pointing. Terror gripped Jenna as she registered the transformation of the water, its waves frantically clawing at the shore, begging for what it had lost. She had to make a decision. The air felt electrified, ready to burst. Would she yield to the lake's curse, or find another way to save her daughter from the looming darkness? The trees whispered their answers, and in the shadows she could feel the weight of choices looming like a storm. The pulse of the lake called to her, and as the water rippled beneath the surface, she could feel nightmares awakening. What would it require to break this cycle? Could she find the strength within herself to defy what had already been written? The lake's surface shimmered, but that shimmer felt wrong, like a deceptive promise glinting in the dark. Jenna's heart thundered in her ears, drowning out the sinister whispers clawing at her sanity. The shadows danced closer, hungry and wild, their forms twisting like smoke, urging her to take a step toward that dark water. Mommy! Lily's voice broke through the haze of panic, filled with innocence that tugged painfully at Jenna's heart. What are we going to do? The question wrapped around Jenna like a vice. The truth threatened to pull her under. The lake, it called to her, a cacophony of echoing screams like a rush of water cascading from a waterfall, both a warning and a lure. Darkness seeped into her consciousness, asking questions she'd been avoiding. How far was she willing to go to protect her child? Lily, I need you to listen closely. Jenna crouched, meeting her daughter's fearful gaze. We have to get away, far away from here. Run into the woods and don't stop, no matter what. The trees loomed tall, their branches like crooked fingers swaying in the wind, but they were their only hope. Jenna squeezed Lily's hand tight. They pushed past the thickets and into the embrace of the forest, the gnarled roots clawing at their feet in frantic attempts to trip them. Each snap of a twig echoed like thunder in the stillness, amplifying Jenna's fear that they weren't alone. The whispers sharpened, now clearly beckoning, pleading for her to return, as if the very essence of the lake was alive and aware of their escape. Mommy? Lily cried, her voice small, barely carrying through the oppressive darkness. Just keep running, Jenna urged, determination igniting her veins. She could feel the shadows nipping at the edges of her vision as they fled deeper into the forest. Behind them, the mournful howl twisted through the air, a reminder that they were not free yet. Branches scratched at Jenna's face as they weaved through the underbrush. Her thoughts raced, thoughts of parents who couldn't save their children, of siblings lost to the cursed lake. Hargrave's own warning gnawed at her. Something had to be paid, a terrible price, not just for safety, but for the chance to escape this nightmare. How much further? Lily gasped, her legs trembling. Jenna paused for a fleeting moment, her breath coming out in sharp bursts. We have to find shelter. Somewhere safe. That was when they stumbled upon it, a dilapidated cabin, almost swallowed whole by ivy and the wood's creeping grasp. Its weathered door hung ajar, as if inviting them in. She could feel the hairs rising on the back of her neck. Was this salvation, or another trap? Mommy, I don't want to go in there. Lily's fear flickered in her eyes. Jenna swallowed hard. She had to trust something, anything. It's better than being out here, she whispered, dragging her daughter toward the entrance. The air grew thicker the closer they got, a heaviness that clung to her skin. As they stepped inside, the darkness swallowed them whole, the silence palpable. Dust motes danced in the faint light seeping through broken windows. Old furniture loomed like forgotten relics, and the stench of mildew wrapped around them, wrapping them in its stale embrace. Stay close to me, Jenna commanded, her palms slick with sweat as she scanned their surroundings, searching for any sign of safety. The shadows from the trees outside seemed to stretch into the cabin, fingers dancing in the corner of her vision. The door creaked ominously behind them, crashing shut with a finality that echoed through the small space. A chill washed over Jenna. The shadows appeared to pulse as the air turned cold, far colder than before. Mommy, I'm scared. Lily's voice trembled, breaking the deafening silence. The walls seemed to close in as Jenna turned, catching a flicker of movement from the corner of her eye. A figure materialized, half-formed and cloaked in darkness. It hovered, watching, waiting for something. No, someone. Jenna's breath quickened, panic clawing at her throat. The creature's hollow eyes glared back with a knowing cruelty. It was a child, yet somehow not a child. As the horror settled, one thought crystallized in Jenna's mind. They were being hunted. What did the figure want from them? How would they escape the darkness that had been summoned here? The air crackled, and Jenna could feel all eyes upon them. An electric tension hung thick, threatening. Then there was a knock at the door. Help! A desperate voice echoed, breaking the ghastly silence. But Jenna didn't know if that voice belonged to salvation, or if it was just another trap. Jenna froze. The desperation in that voice felt real enough, but every instinct in her screamed to stay away from anyone outside. It could be the very thing that hunted them, lying in wait to lure them into a trap. A mommy? Lily's grip tightened on her hand. Shoo, Jenna whispered, her heart pounding against her ribs. She took a cautious step toward the door, hesitating before looking through the cracked window. The outside world glowed dimly, the moonlight casting eerie shadows. A figure stood just beyond the threshold, half in shadow, half in light. It was a man, a patrol officer. His uniform was tattered, eyes frantic as he glanced around. Please, I need your help, he yelled again, voice trembling but with an urgency that made her pulse quicken. There are things out here. You have to let me in. Jenna's throat went dry. Questions raced through her mind. Was he a prisoner of the lake like them? Or was he an agent of whatever darkness loomed beyond? Mommy, Lily pressed against her side, fear squeezing her small frame. Don't move, Jenna breathed, her mind racing for options. The officer seemed human enough. She watched him. He could have been anyone, just like another lost soul. But what about his presence near the lake? Does he know what lurked in the shadows? Please, I can help you, the officer insisted, his voice shaking, broken. There's something out in the woods. It won't stop until you join it. You're not safe here. What was she supposed to believe? The darkness whispered as if it was listening. Stay away, it murmured, and Jenna's gut twisted. But then there was vulnerability in his eyes. pleading desperation. "Mommy!" Lily at her side stomped her foot. "Let him in. She can't hear you." His voice now a rasp of urgency, gripping her with fear. "You're in real danger. Trust me." Jenna bit her lip, torn between fear and the instinct to save. Past the door, the night stirred, and behind her, the shadows in the cabin seemed to pulse with impatience. The figure loomed closer, through the window, its form flickering. "Let me in. It's coming. You don't have much time." Time. The thought sent a chill down her spine. She could feel the air shift, a growing tension, something predatory and lurking, seeking entry. "Mommy!" Lily pleaded again, desperation growing. "Okay. Okay," Jenna murmured, adrenaline igniting her veins. What choice did she have? The cabin felt alive, its walls buzzing with the weight of the unknown. She reached for the door, her heart thumping like a war drum. A crash echoed outside as the shadows shifted violently. With trembling hands, she pulled the door open just enough for the officer to slip through. The smell of damp earth followed him, mingling with the dampness of the cabin air. "Stay back," Jenna shouted as she swung the door wide, desperate but cautious, stepping aside. The officer staggered in, eyes darting wildly as he took the space for all it was worth. The door slammed shut behind him, making their breaths shake in unison. "Listen to me," he barked, clawing to compose himself. "We don't have much time. Just drawn to your fear. You're vulnerable here. Who are you?" Jenna demanded, panic rising again. "But what you don't know." His voice lowered into a guarded whisper, eyes glinting with urgency. "The lake demands sacrifices. If you don't give it what it wants, it will come for you all. You have to fight. What does it want?" Jenna's voice trembled, a faint flicker of hope trying to break free. The figure turned, shadows clinging like smoke. He pointed beyond the window, voice trembling as he spoke. "The child who drowns in the lake. You have to decide who will pay the price." As the words echoed through the cabin, the walls seemed to pulse, shadows swirling thicker. Jenna felt something shift in the air, thick with the bitter tang of fear. "What does he mean?" Lily whimpered, clutching her mother. A shriek pierced the night, chilling them to the core, and Jenna realized the officer was right. The darkness outside was restless, hungry, and it would not be denied. "Run!" The officer barked suddenly, voice turning sharper, almost desperate. "It's coming for you." But where would they run to now? The cabin. It felt like their only barrier against the unseen horrors stirring outside. Jenna's heart raced, beating a frantic rhythm in her chest. She could feel them closing in. The cabin groaned, shadows advancing over them like a wave. The air turned electric and thick, clinging to her skin. Suddenly, the officer hissed, "You have to make a choice. Now." Jenna's mind reeled. How could anything prepare her for what waited outside those four walls? Could anyone ever really be safe? Then, the whisper of the lake slithered into her thoughts once more. "Time is running out. Choose or they will claim you both." As the chilling cries echoed, Jenna sensed that the line between salvation and destruction was about to shatter. Would she sacrifice everything to save her daughter, or would the lake finally have its due? The knocking resumed with a fury, drowning out all rational thought, and Jenna realized this was no ending. It was only the beginning of something far worse. What revelations lay waiting in the darkness? And would they ever escape the grip of the lake? "Make a choice." The officer's voice rang out, sharp as broken glass, slicing through the thickening tension in the cabin. Jenna's pulse raced, echoing in her ears. A choice. What kind of choice could she possibly make that wouldn't end in devastation? Mommy Lily's small voice quivered, a haunting reminder of their stark reality. Jenna squinted into the darkness beyond the window, a tremor of fear rippling down her spine. They were cornered like prey. The walls of the cabin felt like they were closing in, a sinister reminder of their plight. The officer's frantic gaze darted between mother and child, reflecting the mounting dread of whatever evil lurked beyond the door. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, sounding so small, so fragile. Jenna whispered, crouching low to meet her daughter's gaze. heart sinking under the weight of the impending horrors. "We're going to be okay." But even she didn't believe those words anymore. Outside, the howling wind picked up, pulling at the trees like demonic fingers, snapping branches with violent enthusiasm, while the air crackled with a foreboding chill that seeped into the cabin's wooden bones. Shadows danced outside, moving with an unnatural rhythm, and they were hungry. "Please," the officer pleaded, his voice trembling. "Trust me. We need to barricade the doors. The darkness, it thrives on fear. It knows you're afraid, and it's using that against you." Jenna turned away from him, her heart heavy with indecision. Panic surged through her as she wrestled with the horrifying implications of his words. What did the lake want? Did it consider Lily a sacrifice? "Mommy, why can't we just leave?" Lily gasped, eyes wide with terror, grabbing her mother's arm. "Because," Jenna barely managed, her throat tight, "there's nowhere safe, sweetie." The reality hit her like a punch to the gut. They were trapped. The figure in the tattered uniform might have been their only chance. Yet trusting him felt like stepping straight into a noose. "Your fear will draw it closer," he interrupted her thoughts, his hand trembling as he moved toward a window, peering out into the impenetrable blackness. "You have to make it go away. You have to choose." The sound of branches scratching against the cabin walls echoed like sinister whispers urging her to listen. The air shifted violently, and in that moment, Jenna sensed the darkness pulsing, inviting. "Who will it be?" the officer barked, growing more frantic. "You can't let it take your daughter. You have to sacrifice something. Someone must pay to keep you both alive." It was as if time slowed, and her thoughts raced. Sweat dripped from her brow, pooling at the nape of her neck. What did he mean? Sacrifice? The idea twisted in her stomach like a blade. Lily pressed against her, eyes shimmering with innocence, and yet Jenna felt a surge of desperation. What kind of parent would let something like this take their child? "Mommy," Lily's voice broke. "Stop," Jenna snapped, her voice cracking under the weight of horror but rising with an underlying fear. She felt cornered, battling her inner turmoil. Then came the sickening realization: could it be true? Did the lake truly demand a price? With a thunderous crash, the door rattled as something slammed against it from the outside. Jenna instinctively moved to shield Lily with her body, but she could feel the officer's heart pounding like a war drum. "Now, you need to decide," he shouted over the chaos, fear mixing with anger and desperation. "I can't choose," he yelled, drawing nearer, clutching her arm as if it were a lifeline. "If not her, then what? You? Me?" The cabin groaned, shadows twisting outside like black smoke, and an icy wind whistled through the cracks, bringing with it the dreadful certainty that the lake had awakened once more. Jenna's gut twisted painfully. The weight of an impossible choice crushed her. "Please," Lily cried. The door cried out under the weight of dark forces pressing in. Time was running out. What lay beyond that door? And what would she have to sacrifice to keep her daughter safe from whatever the lake desired? In that moment, nothing mattered except the one undeniable truth that pressed against her mind: sacrifice or perish. The shadows outside thickened, and with a shuddering jolt, Jenna realized the lake was waiting. Would she make the impossible choice, or would they become another lost tale, swallowed by the hunger of the night? Outside, something whispered her name. The cabin trembled, the howling wind a relentless beast outside. Jenna's heart was a wild drum, thumping against her ribs as she struggled for breath. Fear clawed at her throat, making it hard to think. Was it worth sacrificing herself? Or could she find a way to outsmart whatever dark malevolence was stalking them? "Mommy, I love you." Lily's sweet voice was like a lifeline, pulling Jenna back from the brink of panic. But what did love mean in a world where life hung on a precipice? "Hold on, sweetie," she managed, her voice strained yet firm. The officer started pacing nervously, eyeing the windows. Dark tendrils snaked along the walls, creeping ever closer. "You need to choose now. If we don't decide, it will take both of you." The shadows twitched at the edges of her vision, whispering with a chilling familiarity. They were not just external fears. They seeped from her soul. When had she let fear shape her life? Was that why they were here, trapped in this cabin of horrors? It was her own weakness, the relentless worry over her child, the panic that had led them to this moment. "Mommy!" Lily yelled, clutching her as the door rattled violently. It screamed against the pressure outside, unspeakable horrors threatening to break through. "Stop!" Jenna shouted, feeling the surreal nature of their nightmare bear down on her. She turned to the officer, desperation fueling her words. "What do I do? What do I have to give? We need your fear to lure it away just long enough." "Let it take me," he replied, the words spilling from his lips with an urgency tinged with resignation. Yet Jenna's gut twisted at the suggestion like a bitter coil. He would throw himself away so easily. And for what? Another crash resonated, the door splintering under the force of whatever waited just beyond. Jenna felt the coldness creep deeper into her bones, terror twisting her insides. "No!" Jenna's voice erupted, stronger than she felt. "You'll never touch her. There has to be another way." She gripped Lily tighter, the warmth of her body a fleeting comfort against the encroaching dread. "Think," the officer pleaded, eyes wild, darting towards the only two windows not yet shrouded in complete darkness. It was true. Fear was a currency in the face of this twisted evil. The shadows whispered her name again, a chilling chorus of despair. Jenna's eyes darted back to her daughter. What would her child think? Could she really do it? The question loomed larger than life. "Mommy," Lily's voice quivered, trembling against her cheek. Maybe the words slipped out, thick and sticky, as realization dawned. Sacrificing fear could create enough distraction to escape. But at what cost? Was she willing to sacrifice her own strength, her own life? "Yes," the officer shouted, pressing close with urgency. "Release your fear. Let it succumb to the darkness." Could she do that? Could she let it all go? With a deep breath, Jenna closed her eyes, surrendering to the surge of vulnerability rising in her chest. As she focused on her shield of love for Lily, she felt a strange sensation pulsating throughout her body. It was as if she were pulling back on the threads of fear, trying to unravel the horror woven tightly into the dark. But amid her internal struggle, the shadows began to shift, growing restless. "No!" The officer's voice soared, his hands flying to cover her mouth. "Don't summon it." Jenna opened her eyes, cutting through the darkness, gripping Lily's hand tightly. The air thickened, becoming charged and electric, and she felt a confrontation on the edge of her very being. Then, the door splintered open, a blast of freezing air sweeping in like a welcomed or unwelcome embrace. Jasmine thought she saw the outline of grotesque forms stretching and growing, coiling like snakes ready to strike. In the eerie stillness that followed, a voice filled the cabin, deep and resonating, shaking the very foundations. "You've made your choice." The darkness encased them, and fear surged anew as Jenna stiffened. Was sacrifice beckoning her, tempting her to give up everything to protect her daughter? In that bleak moment, Jenna realized the lake was not just waiting. Its hunger was insatiable and perhaps it had always intended to collect. "Mommy!" Lily shrieked again, and darkness engulfed them completely. The haunting silence of the cabin turned into a cacophony of whispers, calling out for an answer that may not exist. Would Jenna find the courage to confront these grotesque truths? Would they escape the abyss, or were they already claimed by the lake? Jenna squeezed Lily's hand as darkness surrounded them, the weight of fear making it hard to breathe. The ice-cold air cut through the room, filling every crevice with a biting chill. Each breath felt heavy, as if she were drawing in the shadows themselves. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whispered, her tiny voice trembling. "Me too, sweetie." Jenna's voice caught in her throat. The shadows churned like dark waters, swirling with malevolence. They felt alive, in tune with her racing heart, hungry for the fear oozing from her very core. The officer stood, paralyzed, his eyes darting lost in the crushing dark. "Lure it out," he shouted, desperation skipping in his voice. "We need your vulnerability." We need to let it feast. Just for a moment. Let it feast? Jenna repeated, her voice rising with disbelief. I can't. I won't allow that. But a part of her quivered, a gnawing voice urging her to listen, to obey. Their lives depended on it. The truth lurked beneath the surface like the lake itself. And then, suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the cabin. Shadowy tendrils stretched toward the ceiling, reaching for something unseen above them. The air crackled and hummed, as if the very walls were alive and listening. Find your truth. Give up your fear to prevail, the officer yelled. His voice rang louder than the whispers swirling around them, but it was drowning in the chaos. What was her truth? Jenna searched for it amidst the panic clawing at her. Her love for Lily? The desperate need to protect her? Or had fear always been her existence? She felt it coiling inside, mixing with every doubt she harbored all her life with a shuddering breath. She thought of the warmth of Lily's hand in hers, the way the sun had always kissed their backs on lazy summer days. Tears brimmed in her eyes. But alongside that warmth was the cold steel of desperation growing darker, twisting into a noose. I won't let you harm her. Jenna screamed, determination flaring. The shadows heaved, slithering around the officer's feet, dragging him slowly toward the darkness coiling around the door. I'm holding it back, he cried, panic flooding his voice. Mommy! Lily's voice shot through her, a blaring siren in the night. Stay with me, Lily. Look at me, Jenna commanded, shaking off doubt despite the blurring edges of reality. She fought to keep her voice steady, forcing a brave facade. We'll get out of this. You hear me? But the shadows, those sinister tendrils, were narrowing in. The officer's face twisted. He was losing his battle, becoming part of the nightmare itself. Frantic whispers weaved tumultuous threats, each more insidious than the last. We can't wait. You have to release it, he gasped, desperation lining his expression. You have to get away from her. Jenna lunged forward, a sudden surge of adrenaline coursing through her. She pulled Lily closer, fear swirling into a tempest that filled the very air with hopelessness. The dark entity shrieked in response, anger vibrating against the walls. The officer was rooted, fear etching deeper into his features. But Jenna felt something shift. A flicker of resolve ignited inside, empowering her. Maybe she didn't have to surrender completely. With fierce determination, Jenna began to peel away the layers of her fear. I am stronger than this, she shouted defiantly, infusing her voiced conviction with every ounce of love she held for her daughter. Bright light erupted in the space, a stark contrast against the suffocating darkness. She pushed back with all her might, her heart racing with newfound courage. Shadows winced, recoiling slightly as the radiant energy surged forth. But the darkness was not done yet. With a piercing wail, it lashed out, wrapping around her and Lily in an icy grip that twisted and pulled. Don't let go, the officer yelled, but Jenna felt her strength waning. Was this the moment it would all end? The moment hope flickered and died, with the darkness pulling them inexorably into its cold grasp. Jenna's only thought was to shield Lily. Mommy, please. Lily's eyes shone bright, wide with fear and love. The bonds of terror threatened to shatter her resolve as the shadows tightened their hold, threatening to consume everything they had left. In her final moment of strength, Jenna shouted, "We surrender to love." Light burst forth, making the darkness hiss and recoil. But deep down, she felt the walls of despair closing in. Would they survive this twisted nightmare of choice? Would they remain unbroken? Or would the lake claim them in its insatiable hunger? As the light fought valiantly against the encroaching shadows, a voice echoed from the abyss. You think that's enough? And suddenly, the walls began to shudder, and the officer went silent. Jenna's heart dropped. What other horror lurked in the blackness? The air crackled with anticipation as Jenna stood, raw emotions surging through her. The shadows writhed in defiance against the pushing light, a pulsating threat that seemed to thrive on their fear. We surrender to love, she had shouted, but doubt gnawed at the edges of her mind. Was love truly enough to shield them from this relentless malice? The officer's silence weighed heavily, and with a shudder, the cabin trembled further. The whispers grew louder, forming a chorus of lost hope, old fears, and desperate pleas. Jenna! The shadows taunted, now echoing with voices familiar and distant, hauntingly reminiscent of children who once played by the very lake they sought to escape. Let us take you. You cannot save her. No, Jenna howled, defiance igniting deep within her. Lily clung to her mother's side, her small body trembling. We are not yours. Jenna's heart raced wildly as she searched her surroundings, the cabin twisting and turning, shadows pushing against the walls like a tide threatening to drown them. Breaking free of the darkness felt more urgent than ever. Make it stop, Lily cried, tears glistening on her cheeks. The sight made Jenna's heart ache. Please. In that moment, something shifted inside Jenna. She drew on every memory of joy, resilience, and the light that overshadowed the creeping darkness. Every moment spent with Lily flooded her mind's snuggles after nighttime stories, laughter echoing during sunny afternoons, the warmth of love wrapped around them, shielding her from fear. You want to take what's precious? Jenna roared, eyes blazing. You'll have to fight for it. She envisioned a shield made not of light or fear but of pure, unyielding love fierce enough to push back against the shadows. In an explosive surge, energy burst forth, illuminating the cabin. The warmth enveloped her and Lily, fighting back encroaching darkness with rays of fierce determination. The shadows recoiled, voices shrieking in anger. You cannot hold on to what you love. One of them hissed, wailing like the wind through the trees. No, but I can protect it. Jenna snapped, standing tall. She could feel the shadows clawing and ripping at her resolve, but the memories of Lily anchored her. Together we are stronger than you. Suddenly, the officer sprang back to life, grasping Jenna's arm and locking his gaze with hers. Channel it. Focus. You have the strength within you. With her heart racing, Jenna felt the force of his words press against her chest. Lily! Jenna shouted, intertwining their fingers. The shadows shifted, reacting to the surge of courage. Remember the love we share. Feel it, hold it. We can do this. The air shimmered as they channeled warmth into a fierce barrier. The shadows shrieked, swirling violently as they tried to penetrate the radiance encasing them. But the light grew brighter, transforming the cabin into a sanctuary, while echoes of delight surged back, layering their existence with warmth. Vibrations shook the cabin walls as the darkness collided with their love-stripping layers away, revealing hearts clenched tight to each other. Jenna felt her heart lift as hope washed over her. We will not surrender. Feel our strength. Lily echoed, her small voice ringing with clarity, filling every corner of the visceral space. The love surged back through Jenna's veins, brilliance cascading freely, driving away the shadows inch by inch. The officer stood by, channeling his energy into the collective force. You have to break the cycle, he urged, eyes blazing with intensity. Only love can dispel what feeds on fear. The shadows writhed as they began to recoil, gradually stripped of their power. Cold fingers brushed against Jenna's back but faltered, tendrils of night dimming, fading under the radiant light that flowed from their bond. It pushed against the very heart of the darkness, unraveling its hold. With a blinding flash, the shape of the lake formed in their consciousness, revealing its hunger for sacrifice, not just lives, but souls. Your sacrifice will never be for us, Jenna cried, focusing her spirit, directing it towards the spectral surface before her. We will take this curse and transform it into strength. The shadows teetered on the brink as the light surged forth, blistering the suffocating darkness. A loud roar erupted, reverberating in waves as Jenna's heart knitted the hopes of all those lost to the depths before them. I won't let you take my child, she shouted, a raw sound filled with triumph. You can't have what is ours. With a final, resonating pulse, the darkness screamed as it shattered into glimmers of starlit ash, swirling away into the moonlit night. The tension in the cabin gradually dissipated, leaving a semblance of peace behind. Breathless, Jenna and Lily collapsed into each other's arms, warmth enveloping them in an embrace of salvation. The officer stood silently, fading, a smile gracing his face, as he joined the light. "You did it," he whispered, disappearing into brilliant rays. "You broke the cycle." As dawn's first light painted the horizon, Jenna and Lily stood at the cabin door, the dark woods behind them now alive with the chirping of returning birds. "Mommy?" Lily breathed, looking up wide-eyed, curls framing her angelic face, full of bright belief. "Yes, sweetie? Are we safe?" Jenna knelt down, the sun warming their skin like a comfortable blanket. "Yes," she said softly. "The curse has been lifted." She smiled, her chest swelling with pride, knowing they had faced darkness and emerged victorious. Together, they stepped into the new day, hand in hand, ready to embrace the brightness ahead, leaving behind the shadows and the haunting tale of the lake. The whispers faded, replaced by laughter as they walked toward the enchanted forest, freedom ringing in the air around them. But even with the past neatly tucked away, Jenna felt a gentle tug at her heart, a reminder of the ancient lake's presence lingering just beyond the edge of memory. Now that you've reached the incredible conclusion of Jenna's and Lily's journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Share your thoughts with us. And for the love of all that's good, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how essential these actions are to help us continue this journey together.